Hey, this is Clayton Lawrence, the super heavyweight boxer for Team ISV, and you're listening to VIOC in action.
Hi, this is Cy Thompson, laser sailor for Team ISV, and you're listening to VIOC in action.
This is your high hurdle specialist, Eddie Lovett, for Team VI, and you're tuned in to VIOC in action.
Hi, this is Laverne Jones for Virgin Islands 4-time Olympian and 6th fastest female in the 60-meter history. Tune in to VIOC in action to learn about athletes and what motivates us. Remember, teamwork make the dream work.
Greetings and welcome to another show, VIOC in action. This is your host, Neil Bobby Thomas, and I want to thank you for joining me here on the Virgin Islands Olympic Committee informational radio show, where you learn all about the Virgin Islands Olympic Committee, the administration, our fantastic athletes, our wonderful federations, and all things sports involving the Virgin Islands Olympic Committee. And VIOC in action, we're here to just give you that information that you may not know what's going on with VIOC in action, and we're just getting it out to you. Today is going to be a great show, as I have a super guest that has lots of information, and the entire hour will be spent with her. So let's do this and allow her to introduce herself to the people. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, Bobby. How are you doing?
I am good. Are you back? Are you rested? Are you ready to get back on the grind?
Feeling rested. It was a good 2 weeks. Glad to be back. I've been back a week now, trying to get back into the swing of things. So I'm ready, yeah.
All right, so tell the people who you are and where you came from and how we're going to wrap up this event that just passed.
Sure. So my name is Sydney Paul. I am a member of the Bowling Federation of the Virgin Islands. But most recently, I was the press contact for the Virgin Islands Olympic Committee at the 2018 Central American and Caribbean Games in Barranquilla, Colombia. So my job and responsibility was basically covering all of the VI athletes and making sure that I got the news out about their games, their results, how they were feeling. I took photographs that were shared on Facebook. I sent out all of the information and news to all of the local news media so that they had the information to disseminate in newspapers, online, things like that. So I just made sure that everybody was seeing all the awesome stuff that our athletes were doing in Colombia.
Awesome. And a lot of people did not even know, but we actually won a medal in Colombia in
That's right.
Sailing.
Yep. That's right. A bronze medal in sailing. Peter Stanton won the bronze medal in the open sunfish class. We also had another sailor, Mimi Roller, who was in the female laser class. But Peter, it was such a crazy week watching him compete. We went there for a couple of days. I think he had maybe about 4 or 5 days of sailing. And in the last day, he sort of in, the middle of the pack, kind of keeping his ground, standing his ground. But on that last day, everything sort of just fell into place for him. He came home. He finished with a second place position on that day, which bumped him into the third place bronze overall. And it was so great because he was excited. It was his first medal after competing for so many years with the Olympic Committee, with the Sailing Federation. He had never won a medal before. He joked about how he always got fourth place finishes overall, and this was just like a cherry on top of the cake for him. But he's doing great. He's actually, if not, what day is it? He must have finished. He went to Chicago to try and qualify for the Pan American Games next year in Lima, Peru. I'm not sure how he did. I actually should hit him up and see how that went. But that was his next move. Maybe a couple days after he left Barranquilla, he headed straight to Chicago.
Yes, and a lot of people should realize that that we have athletes all over all the time competing and trying to, develop themselves so they could compete on the international scale, because it's a lot more than just competing at home and winning medals at home. Our athletes compete amongst the best in the world, and that's what makes us better when you improve your competition.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, before the CAC games this year, I was reaching out to the different federations to see which athletes were going to be competing. And as a matter of fact, I called up the president of the Archery Federation, Attorney Damore, and he was in Europe with his son at the time, 1 week before Colombia, competing in an archery tournament. And they flew from Europe to Colombia. And also we have one of the female basketball players. She plays professional in Argentina. So she actually didn't stay, unfortunately, for the entirety of the CAC tournament because she had to fly to Argentina to compete in the playoffs with her team. So we have athletes all over the world competing, representing us, making sure that we're seen. And it's really cool just to have those conversations with those athletes to know how, how experienced they are, what they've seen, how many people they've met. It's really cool. I think more people should, ask the athletes when they see them what their experiences are, because it's amazing.
Yeah, we can't take for granted at all how in-depth it is to be an international athlete, an elite athlete in any sport, so it does a lot. A lot of people don't see right away how getting involved in these international type events benefits the Virgin Islands, but it's such a it's hard to explain to people that take, for example, let's say New York. As big as New York is, as many millions of people there, New York does not have their own Olympic committee or their own Olympic team. But the United States has an Olympic, team and a committee. The Virgin Islands is seen as an equal to the United States when it comes to that.
Yep.
So it is huge for us to be recognized on that level. So our athletes, the way they compete, the people they compete with, after a couple years of competing, our athletes have international friends. They could text a friend in Australia, maybe, one in Russia, South America, and it's nothing to them. So it is great to have that international relation, and that sometimes translates into economic benefits through sports tourisms, or as the bigger envelope, the sports economy finds its way here. Yeah, so
absolutely.
No, go ahead.
No, yeah, I was just gonna agree with you. I mean, the sports, there are different aspects to sports. So you have, of course, like the physical aspect, the health aspect, you have the mental aspect with discipline, but there's also, like you said, there's even a business aspect. There are athletes from different countries, not even just the Virgin Islands, who work really, really, really hard to compete at these tournaments and be seen, where they can get sponsorships. When they get sponsorships, it puts their countries on the map, which gives them more funds and resources to improve the sports industry at home and to improve the competitive level of the athletes that they have. So there's a lot that goes into their training, a lot that goes into how they're focusing and how they're performing, because it's sometimes just more than the competition. There's sometimes a lot at stake when you're representing your country. I mean, of course, there's pride, but you want to do something more for your people, and that's an avenue for them to give back.
Yeah. So in a quick few minutes, how would you wrap up your overall experience with Barranquilla 2018, the Central American and Caribbean Games?
Well, my personal experience, is always amazing. It's really hard for me not to have a good time when I go to these things. So I've been, I was actually an athlete with the bowling team in 2014 in Veracruz, Mexico. And then I did a young reporters program that I was selected for the 2015 Pan American Games in Toronto.
2016.
And I mean, 2016. Yeah, thank you. And just being amongst athletes like that, where the pride that they have for their countries, seeing the energy from the people in that country who just come to watch and cheer on, not just the, like, for instance, in Mexico, when we were in Veracruz, Mexico, and Colombia, actually, when we were in Colombia, they weren't just cheering on the Colombian athletes, they were cheering athletes from all over just to see them perform their best. So for me, correct, it's always thrilling to absorb that energy that sports can bring to a place. So it's, it brings positivity. You forget about everything else that's happening around you, whether it be negative or whatnot. You're just there focusing on seeing a human being perform at their best physically. And it's just amazing also to see what a human body can do. I think I mean, I'm always introduced to new sports when I attend these events, and it makes me feel almost like, what am I doing with my life, when you see how the track athletes perform, yep, how the beach volleyball players perform at like almost 100 degrees high noon, and they're playing at their best, and they're playing for an hour long straight. Like, things like that are just amazing. So for me, it's always inspiring and exciting, and I feed off the energy of the crowd. I feed off the energy of our athletes, and they're always in great spirits. They always go on these trips with the best in mind for themselves, for their team, for the VI, and it shows when they perform, even if they don't make medals or finals or things like that. I think that Olympism truly shows itself in these competitions, because it's more than winning. It's just competing and being amongst the best and encouraging each other to be your best. So for me, I mean, that's a personal wrap up for me, but for the team itself, I was so proud of our delegation. We had nearly 100 representatives, and that includes athletes, coaches, administration, who went on this particular trip. And the swim team were breaking VI records left and right of their tournament. They were just on it. Yeah, that was amazing. Adriel Sanis, Matthew Mays, they were amazing. A lot of them made B finals. So we were at the swimming venue in the morning and in the evening almost every day, because they were competing at a high level. Adriel Sanis, for example, he beat 2 of his own VI records twice in one day. And that just goes to show about how hard they've been working to compete at these things. The women's basketball team placed 5th overall. They had some really great games. The energy inside of that stadium was great. And I remember that I got to speak to you a couple times when I was in the basketball stadium watching them play. The track athletes were great. Some of them made finals. Beach volleyball was also good. Our women's beach volleyball team had a couple victories over the course of their tournament. Golf was really good too. We had our female golfer Amira Alexander. She after the first 2 days of her tournament was placed 4th, and she was in a really good position to medal. She was feeling good. Unfortunately, she had a bad day the following day, but it just goes to show that we have the athletes that can compete at the level of the best, and their hard work really shows. And I mean, I'm going over a couple of them, but just watching them compete, we're up there. You know what I mean? We just need to keep encouraging them and keep supporting them and making sure that they know that we see all the hard work they're doing. And I'm sure that, in the future, we're going to see more wins, more medals and things like that. So overall, I'm really proud. Like, I was so impressed by all of the athletes.
It is very, we take it lightly because we see them perform for, let's say, the fencer. He might be on his mat for just a few minutes at a time. But think of all the build-up, all the training, all the different events that he's been competing in, qualifying to be able to get and represent the Virgin Islands. So, like you said, it is so important for us to show that encouragement and show that support, even if it's a like on their social media, whatever it is. You say hello through Facebook for the Virgin Islands Olympic Committee page. It is big to support them because it takes so much to prepare to be able to attend those events. So it's
and I just want to go through. Quickly all of the sport events that we were competing in for this Central American and Caribbean Games. So we had athletics, which is track and field. We had basketball, both the 5-man basketball, because there was also 3-on-3 basketball, which is amazing to watch, Bobby. I should tell you about that. But we had the women's basketball team, the men's basketball team. We had 1 fencer. We had 2 golfers. We had the swim team. We had 3 archers for archery. We had 2 sailors, and we had a women's and men's beach volleyball team who competed this year.
Okay, great. And, one thing I know for sure, President of the VIOC, Angel Chico Morales, and the rest of the leadership, they are on the hunt for more athletes. They are so supportive of all of the federations and all the athletes across the nation and beyond that can qualify to represent Team ISV, because we do need to keep our athletes coming. The performances need to be getting better as our competition around the world is getting better. None has been more evident, and may I say, we've always been consistently great in sailing. But as far as showing improvement, basketball has taken leaps and bounds. And we've had track and field doing amazing stuff. Track and field was one of the original federations that actually put the VI on the map, and we, some 50-something years later, is still doing great stuff. And it's such a huge statement for people to understand that these tiny little rocks in the Atlantic are now competing against the best in the world. That is a statement in itself, and they call,
and not just regionally, they're competing internationally.
Correct. And the call for support, it is so necessary. They do need that morale support. But if we could get the corporate community, some of the EDC companies to realize that, the VIOC, the member federations, the athletes need so much to continue to train, to continue to develop. If they could invest there, it would be so worthwhile for them. And, when they get to see that athlete perform, it would definitely be worth it. And I try every show to encourage, the big businesses here in the Virgin Islands, those great corporate citizens, to try and work with us. Because even on a smaller level, we can ask individuals to get a license plate, or the cap, the small items that help support in that way. But the large corporate support is what really helps us out.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I've had conversations with some of the athletes, especially on the track team, who tell me about, the time and dedication it takes to train at the level they need to compete internationally. And sometimes that means, you might not have the time, if that's your priority, to have a full-time job. And that's where the VIOC and the federations and corporate partners come in to sponsor and find the resources for these athletes so that they have the time to focus on their sport and on their training. And that's what other countries, that's what other national Olympic committees do for their athletes. They make sure that that they're focusing solely on their training, and the athletes to do that need sponsorship to make sure that everything else around their lives can run as smoothly as it can, so they can focus on their training. So I totally agree with you. It'd be really, really great to see a lot of our corporate citizens in the territory invest in our athletes, because when you do that, it increases the level of exposure for the islands, but also like how people view our islands, and they see what talent and what we can bring and offer to the rest of the world. So and anybody who wants to support financially or otherwise the Olympic Committee and these federations have to look at it as an investment, and because everybody is getting something out of it in the end when these athletes are able to perform at their best.
Correct. And support goes in every direction, because even if you're not thinking, my little 6-year-old will not be an elite athlete, not so fast. But you can still support him, not by going out there to try to train him to be an elite athlete, but support him by learning his sport, him or her, learning their sport, being a scorer. You may not necessarily have to be an athlete to be a member of the VIOC or the federations or give them the support, because a lot of times we have competitions going on and we don't have the officials, whether it's a referee, whether it's a scorer, whether it's just someone, a line judge, or just someone on the side to retrieve balls when they go out of play. And there's so many ways you could get involved and assist. And like I said, President Chico, he is requesting the entire community, find your sport, get associated with something. If you're not actively competing, find a way to still be associated and still help out, because volunteers are always needed, always.
Yeah, actually, we went down to Barranquilla. There were a couple referees, judges, officials from the VI who were called down outside of the VIOC through the international or the regional federation to offer assistance in the games. So there was a judge for beach volleyball that we met up with, Miss Hobson. There was a judge for sailing, and one of the basketball referees were also from the VI. And that's important because in these games, when you have, they try to make sure, this is just to explain to the wider audience, they try to make sure that when the games are being officiated or judged or refereed or whatnot, that there's neutrality in who is conducting the officiating. So they want to make sure, for instance, in a basketball game, if the Virgin Islands is playing Colombia, that neither or none of the referees are from the Virgin Islands or Colombia. So they might have a referee from Argentina and one from Guatemala and one from Trinidad and Tobago, and vice versa. So there might be Virgin Islands referees who are participating in other games and judging other games with other countries. So that's why it's so important, and that's why there's a space for everyone to get involved in sport for your country.
Correct. And with that, we'll take our first break here on VIOC in Action, and we'll be right back.
Skeleton racer for Team ISV, and you are listening to VIOC in Action.
Hi, this is Tim Pitts, 2004 Olympic sailor for the Virgin Islands, sailing the laser class on VIOC in Action.
This is Mr. One Time for the One Time, Leon Hunt, long jump record holder for Team VI. Thank you for logging on to VIOC in Action.
Hey, this is Sydney Paul, member of the Virgin Islands National Bowling Team, and you're listening to VIOC in action.
All right, welcome back to the show, VIOC in action. This is your host, Athniel Bobby Thomas, and we have with us today Sydney Paul. Sydney was just telling us about her experience in Barranquilla, Colombia for the CAC Games for 2018. And now I think she just put down the PR hat and she's picking up the bowling hat. You ready for that transition, Sid?
Sure, I'm always ready for bowling, Bobby.
You like that little drop here? You heard it?
Yeah. I always cringe a little when I hear it, but it's cool. It's cool because I have to think at least bowling's getting some play.
Yeah, we gotta big up bowling. I mean, bowling is huge on St. Croix, and I had brand new respect for bowling when in 2014 at the Central American Games in Veracruz, Mexico, because we got there a few days before the bowling squad. So when we just had our luggage, came off the bus and go to your rooms. So the bowling team comes and like, man, our guys are here, let's go out and help them out. And you guys have bowling bags that carry bowling balls, not one ball, not two balls, 4 and 5 balls. I'm like, this is madness.
Yeah,
I would not let you get on my plane with those things.
That's actually like the part I dread the most about when we go to compete, the traveling with because if you lose those bags, that's it. That's all you know what I mean? Like that's your entire play right there.
And I was like,
and then just lugging them around. I feel bad for the luggage guys who have to put those in the planes because they have to be really confused.
I was like, what is going on here? You know, I'm
and these are Bobby, you didn't even mention, I'm sure a lot of people know by now, but it's good to emphasize that these aren't, 8-pound balls or 6-pound balls. These are 14, 15-pound balls, and you have 4 or 5 of them in one bag, and then you might have another bag with 4 or 5 of them. So it's a lot of weight.
And someone like me who's just a casual bowler, I bowl like every 5 or 6 years or whatever, so I go and I pick the lightest ball when I'm bowling, and I just try to throw it down the lane as hard as possible. And I found out so much of the science behind bowling that before seeing you guys traveling with your own balls, I thought you had one special ball that your grandma gave you, so you kept it in the little bowling bag.
Oh, Lord.
But then when I found out that the science behind you use all the balls, maybe in one competition, because you use this ball when the lane is nice and slick and it has the proper oil, and then later on you switch to this ball, and then you use this ball for the proper curve, and then this one when you just want to hit. I was like, what? There's so much behind it, but bowling is huge. And on St. Thomas, the bowling, we have another bowling alley open, but it's one of those boutique alleys.
I'm excited for you guys.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the bowlers here get to put the time in, because it's just like another hangout, but I'm hoping they're able to get the hours they need to get their reps in, to work on their game.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just want to emphasize how you said that bowling is really big on St. Croix. It got even bigger, especially with the Government of the Virgin Islands League. Oh, my goodness, Bobby, you should come over one time. They have the league on Thursdays, and all of the different agencies participate. It is packed inside the bowling alley. Every single lane, the restaurant, the sitting area is packed because people bring their family, and all of the teams are full. And they do this, I think it's like for half the year they do it. It's come to the point now where I haven't, unfortunately, I need to get back on the lanes practicing. But when I'm there, I see people who participate in the government league practicing on the weekends. They have their own bowling balls now. They have their shoes. They have all their equipment. They're like trying out different things. And for me, it's really good because there was a moment, especially when I came back home a couple years ago, where I felt like, we have a lot of retirees who bowl, and then a lot of the people my age who started in like the early 2000s when we were really young, haven't really kept with it. So for a second, I was a little sad because I thought, oh man, like St. Croix bowling is dwindling a little bit. But this government league has totally, did a whole 180 on that, and it's really popular. Like the bowling alley is packed all the time with people practicing, and I love it. I think it's a really good thing. So just to like maybe get some of those people involved in the federation would be even more awesome, because we definitely need it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to segue into something really quick. We have a tournament coming up in October, I think, in Brazil, that we're hoping to participate in, the Champion of Champions tournament. I participated a year before when it was in Puebla, Mexico, but it's going to be in Brazil this year. And it's actually a qualifier for us to compete in the Pan American Games next year in Lima, Peru. So cross your fingers. I am not going to be on the team because it's 2 women, 2 men. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be on the team, but they haven't officially announced the team yet. So when I find that information out, I'm going to let you know so that we could keep track of the bowlers and see how they do when they do go in October.
Yeah, and it's great that we have the numbers rising again for bowling. And like you said, it's important that we get members interested enough that they want to join the federation. The growth of the federation will even be more growth for the sport. So it's great to have people getting back out there on the lanes for sure. Now, is there besides... Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention something about Barranquilla, which you just reminded me of. So, this bowling was one of the sports for the CAC games this year again. But unfortunately, it wasn't in Barranquilla. It was in Cali, Colombia, because they didn't have, I guess, like a qualified lane to compete on. So all of the bowlers were in Cali, Colombia, and I just want to shout out one of my good friends from bowling. She's from Aruba. Her name is Tashaina Saraus. She won the gold medal for Aruba for the individual female, and I'm so proud of her. Like, she's one of the most amazing bowlers I've ever experienced in my life. And I got to compete with her in 2014 when we were in Mexico. But I've had just having conversations with some of the athletes and coaches and people like Chico and John and Lynn, and Anson, we would joke about how there are all of these really strange sports that you would never think would be competitive sports that are moving their way into the Olympics. And bowling is not an Olympic sport yet, Bobby. We have to get on the train of getting bowling as an Olympic sport, because it is amazing to me that of all the sports, so bowling, the Pan American Games, for this region at least, is one of, if not the highest we can go in terms of competing at on a world stage level. And every couple of years they petition for bowling to be in the Olympics, and it makes the short list. And then I'm trying to think of something totally odd that they have put into the Olympics before bowling. I can't even think of something right now. But we were talking about the Winter Olympics and how curling is a sport where you're just like sweeping. I know disrespect to curling, because I think it's fascinating to watch curling in the Winter Olympics, but you're just like sweeping some ice, this puck across some ice. But bowling, which actually has a ball, you know what I mean? Like, it's not an Olympic sport yet. I think it's a travesty.
Isn't it based on how widespread the sport is? Because I'm wondering, like, I think baseball is going to be back in the Olympics for Tokyo.
2020?
I believe so.
Yeah, I heard that.
Right. So I think it's a matter of global interest, because unlike the Pan American Games, Olympics is global. So if there are a ton of countries that don't participate in bowling, you're pretty much chalking it up to, let's say, the Western countries that dominate baseball and softball,
Bobby.
unless you have Japan. I'm just saying, I don't know.
Disrespecting bowling like this.
No, what I'm saying is,
because I will tell you, I understand where you're coming from. But I know bowler, like when I was in Champion of Champions in Puebla, there are professional bowlers on the PBA tour who, mind-blowingly, I was competing on the same lanes with them, and I had like a fan moment. But we, spoke with some of them at the hotels, and those guys would, you know, like they'd be in Puebla, Mexico, and then next week they're like, oh, okay, we're going over to Indonesia for another tournament. Oh, we're going. Okay. We had Charles Richards, who's one of our bowlers in our federation, a couple of years back went to South Africa to bowl. I can't remember the name of the tournament, but it was one of those world championship tournaments. We have world championship tournaments. And he was competing against bowlers from Germany, from Switzerland. You know what I mean? Like from all over. It's really, really popular in Southeast Asia. You have a lot of really good bowlers from there. But I think that it has it. I think I don't know if it's maybe because, you know, there's a lot of politics when it comes to things at that level too. Right. So not necessarily that it's not reaching a wide enough audience, but you know, there might be funding issues and things like that when it comes to influence. And I mean, that's a political aside. But in the States, at least, I've been following. So this summer, there were the Pepsi Junior Championships in Texas, which we actually had some of our VI bowlers compete in, but they broadcasted on TV the finals for like the trophy and the winning prizes and everything, and there were sold out venues to watch those finals, and the fact that it was broadcasted, that it was telecasted nationally, tells you that there's a big enough showing, at least in the US, that people are watching it on TV. So I'm always going to be an advocate. And the day, Bobby, that they make bowling an Olympic sport, I'm quitting my job. I'm going to start finding all those corporate citizens that we were talking about. And I'm going to be training full time because it is my dream of my life when I was younger to be an Olympian. And that is my in. So I need you to help me get people on this bowling train.
Okay, well, let me give you this this parallel you will not enjoy at all. Flipping through the channels the other day, I'm watching these guys taking this bean bag and tossing it on the thing, and it goes in a hole.
Oh, Lord.
So I'm like, cornhole is on ESPN.
Cornhole.
Yes, it's
That's
like
right.
a series. So, you know, there are people for every sport. The way I am a die hard for baseball, there might be people saying, what? Slit my wrist first before I sit through 9 innings of that boring game, you know? And then you're going to have others like bowling. That is madness. Why would I do that? And then you have others like cornhole. No way. But it's, you know, there's just a
you
sport
have to admit, though, that cornhole is a little absurd.
No,
it's more absurd than bowling, Bobby. Don't put us on the same level.
I will not disrespect any sport. None.
No, me neither, because I've been, like I said before, going to these games, like the Central American and Caribbean games and things like that, I have been introduced to new sports where it, like, you have a whole new appreciation for the skill and mental capacity and discipline that it takes to do some of these sports. So I don't want to say it that way, but we have a ball. We actually have a whole ball. That's like half of all the sports. You know what I mean? Like, that should just automatically make it an Olympic sport.
Yeah. But, you know,
I've also seen, like, have you ever heard of Ultimate Frisbee? People take Ultimate Frisbee very seriously.
Oh, no, that's
so I don't want
to. That's the real deal.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so I'm not trying to undermine any other sports, but I'm always gonna be the biggest advocate for mine. You know what I'm saying?
As you should be. Like when I went to when we were in Toronto and we were watching the Pan Am games, I went to just different sports just to check them out, and I happened into rugby sevens.
Oh wow, that's intense.
I was addicted because it's so high paced. It's like it never stops. You know, 10 minutes into the game, the score is 3-5. 15 minutes into the game, the score is 35-39. You know, and right down to the wire, they're playing as the last goal is scored and the team is coming off the field. And the next side of the field, another game is starting. I'm like, what's this? What's going on here? There's more. I was like, I'm hooked, you know. So I could imagine the exposure to new sports. So it's really really cool. One of my disappointments was, you know, I'm one of the kids grew up in the 70s and boxing was huge. When you heard that, you know, Hagler is coming on TV and he's fighting her and you're like, what? You know, the entire neighborhood, the streets are clear. Everyone is in front of someone's TV watching the boxing. So I'm getting ready to see a brawl. Not at the Pan Am Games. That thing is a chess match. They are hitting for points and a lot of defense and, wicked skill. It's on a it's a different game. Just like Taekwondo.
Yeah.
I had visions of guys flying through the air with roundhouse kicks, and then you go there and there's this guy, like a surgeon, standing on one foot, just beating everyone, keeping them at distance. Because he has this, like, his leg is like 12 feet long. He just keeping everyone away and slapping them with his foot. It's just amazing. It's so great to be exposed to see the events on that level. It's really,
yeah. Have you watched fencing, like, in person?
Yes, that's actually
that was new for me this time when we went to watch our fencer compete.
Right.
Oh my goodness, those games go so quickly.
And
because it's only 5. It's up to 5 points.
And my eyes are so slow. And I am thinking that our guy is winning all the time. Like, how did I didn't see the other guy, touch him. But it's it's amazing to watch those things.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Like, for instance, I have a story from the Pan American Games in Toronto when I was in the Young Reporters program. So they assigned us, each of the reporters, who were from different countries, a set of sports to cover in groups. So I got a lot of the water sports, like canoeing, kayaking, whitewater kayak, and rowing. I wanted to be the best rower in the world after watching rowing. Just watching how you have to condition your body. They were like peak all athletes have, like, their body has to be conditioned in a way that makes them the best that they are. But I have a serious appreciation for rowers, soccer players and rugby players, just because of how they have to condition their body. And I was like, oh my God, when I get back home,
narrow boats for any fat at all. So
no, and their legs are powerful. Some people think that it's their arms that a lot of their power comes from. It is not. It is their legs. It is their legs. And I told myself, I'm going to come home and I'm going to start a rowing federation. I'm going to make my own little lake to practice. Like, I was ready for rowing. Yeah. And that just goes to show you how, with these with these multi-sport events and things like that, how cool and important sport is, because it shows you how diverse it can be. It shows you that there is something for everyone. There is really something for everyone to get involved and get active.
It is. And that's what President Angel Chico Morales is always preaching. Get involved. There is something for you out there. Sport is all about health. So sport is great for all of us. Just great. So, it's definitely something that we all should make time and be part of, so it's cool. And one thing I like about the bowling program on St. Croix is you guys have some amazing young bowlers. Yeah.
We actually had, like I said, I was mentioning the Junior Pepsi tournament, which is one of the biggest tournaments for young bowlers in the country, in the U.S. We had a really big delegation going. I'm trying to pull up the information on those who went.
And wait a minute, Chicago, was it?
Here? No, it was in Texas. And how that tournament works, it's not at just one bowling alley, which seems a little strange. But it's also because it's like thousands, or at least close to 1,000 bowlers, young bowlers who participate. So they have to have multiple bowling alleys for them to compete in, and sometimes it involves, so they do it by I think it's like under 12, under 15 group, under 20 group. So we had bowlers in almost every age category. I'm still searching for this. They posted it on Facebook. And okay, I found it. So we had oh my gosh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. About 10 bowlers go compete this year with 2 coaches. And one of our higher level competitors, La Monique Barrios, she was in the under 20 group and advanced after 4 rounds to the top 123 bowlers. That just goes to show you how many bowlers there are. So she advanced at 123 and almost made it to the top 64, but she finished 94th out of 856 girls. So I just want to shout out La Monique, and I want to shout out the other bowlers, Mbiko Bowery, Dylan Shang, Rodante Moorhead, Janelle Santos, LeBron James, Ronell Shang, Tremaine Seals, Ayana Henry, and Elijah Greenidge. It was a big group this year. I was really proud of them. And I'm going to be honest, from my perspective, because I'm not one of the officials in the Junior Bowlers Federation at this moment, but I know that they were going in because most of these young bowlers, this was their first time competing in a tournament of this size. Some of them, this was their first time competing in a tournament at all. And this tournament for them, unlike, like La Monique and people like Dylan and Biko Rodante, who are seasoned competitors, they just tournament for the experience. And when I asked some of the parents about how the experience went for them, it just gave them a bigger appreciation for bowling, and they came back with renewed energy in practicing and training and learning the sport a little better. And that's what a lot of these tournaments, especially for the young bowlers, in my opinion, is about. So that when they get to the level like La Monique, they understand how much energy and how much hard work goes into competing. So I think overall it was a successful trip for them, and I just wanted to shout them out. They it was the second week in July. The middle of July is when they went to compete. So I'm really proud of them, and I know that going into the new bowling season, which starts the same time around school, they're going to be ready to start practicing and training again.
Yeah, absolutely. That exposure is key. A lot of people don't understand that, playing at home, playing against the people you normally play against is not necessarily the best thing to develop competition, because you end up playing at that level all your life. You need to get exposure to other levels.
It's an eye-opener for sure.
Yeah, totally. And I had my mind blown when you said that they were playing on different lanes, because you told me that each lane is prepared a certain way, and you got to figure this out to be able to bowl. And then, all right, you finally got this lane down to a science. You're ready to turn it up and then say, all right, since you've won, you're going over here down the street, you're going to go 2 blocks to this company and then this lane. And I could imagine how kudos to them. I wish that I had gotten the opportunity to compete in the Pepsi tournament. I didn't when I was in junior bowlers, but the fact that they get up every day and go on those lanes, and you're looking, if you're halfway through the lanes, you might have 20 lanes on one side of you and 20 lanes on the other side of you, and then each lane has about 5 competitors on it. You're just seeing a sea of bowlers, and you're trying to figure out what would go through my mind is like, how am I going to distinguish myself between hundreds of these bowlers on these lanes? And then you have to think about the physics of the game, and you're like, oh my gosh, now if I have to move 2 lanes down, I'm gonna have to figure out how the people 2 lanes down, the 10 of them were bowling on this lane and changing the pattern and the dynamics of it's a lot. It's a lot. So I just want to congratulate and commend and shout out and big up those guys, because they, in the midst of all of that, for their first time being at a national competition, did really, really well. All right. And with that, we'll take our final break here on VIOC in Action. We'll be right back with Sidney Paul.
this is Peter Holmberg, silver medalist for the Virgin Islands in 1988, and you're listening to VIOC in action.
Hi, this is Adrian Durant, coach for the VI National Track and Field Team. Set your goals and work hard to achieve them. Believe in yourself, and anything is possible. Tune into VIOC in action to learn how you can take your game to the next level. And remember, if it's to be, it's up to me.
This is Dr. Jerry Smith, physical therapist with the VI Olympic Committee. To unleash the elite athlete in you, the key ingredients are good nutrition, hard work, and dedication. Give yourself what you need to get in and stay in the game. Tune into VIOC in action for tips and fun activities to unleash the elite athlete in you.
All right, we are back to VIOC in action. We're going to wrap up, and Sydney, want to thank you for spending the day with us. But tell everyone, how can they make contact with the VI Bowling Federation real quick so they can sign up and be part?
Sure. You can find us on Facebook, and our handle on Facebook is the USVI Bowling Federation. The best way probably would be to message us through there.
Okay, great.
Yeah, for now, I think. And then if you go to the bowling alley, which is in Castle Coakley, on Saturdays, on Mondays there's a men's league. On Tuesdays there's a mixed league. I don't think there's a league on Fridays anymore. But Mondays, Tuesdays, and Saturdays, there's always members of the Bowling Federation. They're practicing or participating in the leagues, and you can always reach out to the staff of the bowling alley, and they can give you more information about how to get in contact with us.
All right, thank you very much, Sydney. Sydney Paul for the Virgin Islands Bowling Federation. And we're going to wrap up here on VIOC in action. If you want to contact us, you can give us a call on working hours 340-719-8462 or NOC@VirginIslandsOlympic.org or www.VirginIslandsOlympics.org, or check us out on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Virgin Islands Olympics. But before we sign out, we got to get a few words from those that really want to thank you for tuning in. This has been Anthony Bobby Thomas signing out. See you next time.
Hey, this is Lynn Reed, Secretary General of the Virgin Islands Olympic Committee. Wanted to thank you for listening to VIOC in action.
This is Angel Chico Morales, President of the Virgin Islands Olympic Committee, thanking you for joining us on VIOC in action.